My name is Lena Harper, and for the past 15 years, I've taught English literature at a public high school in Portland, Oregon. My days are a mix of coffee stains on lesson plans, grading essays about The Great Gatsby, and coming home to a small but happy family in a house that always smells faintly of cinnamon and laundry detergent. My husband, Nathan, works from home as a software engineer for a tech firm up in Seattle. He's the calm one in our house, the voice of reason when emotions run high, the man who can fix both a broken Wi-Fi router and a broken mood with the same quiet patience. Our eldest, Ava, is 17, smart, headstrong, and radiant in that way only girls on the edge of adulthood seem to be. She's in her final year at Lincoln High, the most prestigious school in town, and everyone there knows her name. Captain of the debate club, lead in the spring musical, and this year's frontrunner for prom queen. She has that confidence that fills a room, the kind I wish I'd had at her age. Then there's Mila, our 9-year-old whirlwind of curiosity. She remembers everything, every fact she's ever read, every detail anyone ever tells her. We call her our little hard drive. She spends hours on her old iPad, the one Ava discarded years ago, making videos about outer space and funny riddles. We're not a perfect family, but we're good. The kind that laughs over burnt pancakes and argues about what to watch on Friday nights. I didn't know that just a few hours later, that same little girl, my curious space-obsessed Mila, would do something that would change everything. Something I'd spend the rest of my life being grateful for. If you're still listening, we want to sincerely thank you for spending your time with us. Truly means a lot. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments and let's see how far this message has reached. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I highly recommend doing it now so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. These aren't just ordinary stories, they're filled with meaningful life lessons that can inspire, teach, and stay with you long after the video ends. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. It was the kind of morning that starts wrong before you even open your eyes. I remember the sound first. A scream so sharp it didn't sound human. My body reacted before my brain did. I bolted upright, sheets tangling around my legs, heart pounding in my throat. It was Ava. Her room was down the hall, and I swear I crossed the distance in seconds. The wooden floorboards slapped under my bare feet as I threw the door open and froze. Her hair, that long golden curtain she'd been growing out since freshman year, lay scattered across her pillow like a pile of silk threads. The crown of her head was completely bare, raw and shiny in the morning light. My daughter sat there shaking, clutching the blanket to her chest, her face blotched with shock and tears. "Mila did it!" she screamed when she saw me. She shaved my head while I was asleep. For a moment I couldn't process the words. My eyes darted around the room, the open drawer, the buzzing sound still faintly echoing from the corner. Nathan burst in behind me, still in his t-shirt and pajama pants, confusion plastered on his face. "What the hell happened?" he asked, his voice low but tight. Ava turned on him, her words cracking. "Mila, she took your electric shaver. She cut it all off. My prom's tonight, Dad. 7 hours from now." The weight of her words hit me, the prom, the live stream, the thousands of people watching. Ava wasn't just upset, she was devastated. Her entire world, at least the 17-year-old version of it, had just been destroyed. I stormed toward Mila's room, each step heavier than the last. She was sitting cross-legged on her bed in her little astronaut pajamas, holding the electric razor, its silver blade still dusted with golden hair. She looked up at me, calm, almost eerily so. "Mila," I whispered, "why would you do that?" Her voice came out soft, trembling but certain. "Because if she went to prom tonight, Jasper would kill her." For a second the world tilted. I blinked at her, thinking I must have misheard. "Sweetheart," I said, forcing my tone to stay even. "What are you talking about?" Her lip quivered. "I heard him, Mom. Jasper. He told someone on the phone. He said he was gonna hurt her tonight. Jasper Caldwell." The name alone made my stomach twist. Ava's boyfriend. The star athlete, the senator's son. I'd seen him at our house, polite, confident, too polished for a teenager. His family was powerful, wealthy, the kind of people whose names open doors. He always called me Mrs. Harper with that easy smile, and I'd told myself he was just intense, maybe a little possessive. I'd seen the tension in Ava's shoulders when he texted, The way she flinched once when her phone buzzed during dinner, and I'd ignored it. Told myself all young couples fight. Now Mila was staring up at me, her eyes wide and wet. Mom, I had to stop her. He was going to do something bad. Down the hall, Ava's sobs echoed like broken glass. Nathan was pacing, running a hand through his hair. And I stood there between my two daughters, one weeping over what was lost, the other clutching the razor that might have just saved a life. In that moment I didn't know which terrified me more, what Mila had done, or what she might be right about. By 7 o'clock that morning, the house no longer felt like home. It felt like a stage before a storm. The air too still, every sound too sharp. I was still trying to process what Mila had said when the doorbell rang. Once. Twice. Urgent. Nathan and I exchanged a look, and my stomach dropped. When I opened the door, Jasper Caldwell was standing there. Perfectly pressed suit. Red boutonniere pinned to his lapel. He looked like a prince from a glossy magazine, confident, immaculate, untouchable. In his hands he held a small white box tied with a ribbon. "Good morning, Mrs. Harper," he said smoothly, stepping past me before I could reply. "I came to pick up Ava." His eyes landed on her almost immediately, standing by the stairs, her head bare under a hoodie, eyes swollen from crying. The smile on his face faltered for half a second, then twisted into something else, a smirk. "Well," he said, voice dripping with false charm, "you still look beautiful, baby. Prom queen or not." The way he said it made my skin crawl. Nathan stepped forward, jaw tight. "You need to leave, Jasper." But Jasper only tilted his head, the smirk widening. "Relax, Mr. Harper. Don't make this dramatic. Ava and I just had a misunderstanding." Then with a pointed glance toward me he added, "Besides, I'd be careful about making accusations. My father, well, he knows the governor personally. It'd be a shame if things got complicated for your family." The threat was so casual it felt rehearsed. My breath caught in my throat. From behind me a small voice said, "He's lying." Mila stepped into the hallway, her tiny hands gripping her old iPad, the one with the cracked corner and the sticker of a rocket ship. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned with a quiet fire I'd never seen before. "You're lying, Jasper," she said again, louder this time. He turned, amusement flickering in his eyes. "Oh, really? What do you know, little one?" Without answering, Mila tapped the screen. A voice crackled through the speaker, his voice. "Tonight after prom, I'll give her 2 Rohypnol. My brother said they work fast. She won't remember anything. Then I'll make sure she's mine for good." The room went completely silent. No one moved. I swear even the clock on the wall stopped ticking. Ava gasped and stumbled back against the railing, one hand over her mouth. Nathan froze, eyes wide, disbelief twisting into rage. Jasper's face drained of color, his smirk shattering into a mask of panic and fury. That's not real," he stammered. "She faked that." Nathan lunged forward, grabbing Jasper by the collar and slamming him against the wall so hard the frame of our family photo rattled. "You were going to drug my daughter?" Nathan roared, voice shaking with fury. "You sick." I jumped between them, clutching Nathan's arm. "Stop. Please." Jasper sneered, even as he struggled to breathe. "Go ahead, hit me. 2 weeks ago you threatened me in the school parking lot. I've got that on video. The police will love it." The words sliced through Nathan's anger. He froze, chest heaving. I could see the battle behind his eyes, rage and restraint colliding. I reached for my phone with trembling hands and dialed 911. While I gave the operator our address, Mila crawled under Ava's bed and dragged out a dusty shoebox wrapped with tape. Inside were dozens of photos. Ava's arms, legs, back, bruises in different stages of healing. A tiny bottle with no label. Screenshots of messages, voice recordings. My stomach twisted with each piece of evidence. "Mila," I whispered, "where did you get all this?" "I kept them," she said softly, "because you didn't believe me last time." Her words hit harder than any scream. Images flashed through my mind. Ava insisting she'd tripped. Ava wearing long sleeves in July, the time I'd heard something crash upstairs and she said she'd just dropped her phone. And I'd let it go. Now those moments weren't misunderstandings. They were signs, and I had missed every one of them. The sirens wailed in the distance, faint but growing louder. Nathan stood frozen by the doorway, his hands still trembling. Ava clung to Mila, sobbing silently. And I stood there, phone still pressed to my ear, realizing the smallest voice in the house had seen the truth before any of us did. For the first time that morning, I wasn't sure who I was angrier at, Jasper Caldwell, or myself. When the police arrived, the house was already in chaos. Ava sat wrapped in a blanket on the couch, her scalp covered by a hoodie, eyes red and hollow. Nathan stood near the window, arms folded tightly, as if holding himself together by sheer will. I could still hear Mila's small sobs upstairs, the sound of a child who had done something unthinkable and yet, somehow necessary. Detective Vasquez was the kind of woman who didn't waste words. She was calm, mid-40s maybe, her eyes sharp but not unkind. She took in the room with one glance, the broken brush, the hair on the floor, the trembling girl on the couch. "Tell me exactly what happened," she said, flipping open her notebook. My voice cracked as I started. My daughter Ava woke up like this. Her sister shaved her head while she was sleeping. Vasquez's pen paused. And why would she do that? Before I could answer, Mila appeared at the top of the stairs, clutching her old iPad. Her small voice cut through the air. Because Jasper was going to hurt her tonight. The room froze. Even the ticking clock seemed to hold its breath. Detective Vasquez turned slowly. "Who's Jasper?" "Her boyfriend," I whispered. "Jasper Caldwell. His father is Senator Caldwell." That name made Vasquez's expression tighten, not with fear, but with the recognition of power. She motioned to one of the officers. "We'll need a statement from everyone." A few minutes later, tires screeched outside. Jasper himself showed up, wearing a suit jacket, hair slicked back, fury burning behind his smirk. He didn't even knock before pushing through the door. "What the hell is going on here?" he demanded. His eyes darted to Ava, then to me. "You people have no idea what kind of trouble you're in." "My father." Vasquez raised a hand. "Mr. Caldwell, please step outside." He sneered. "Do you know who my father is?" "Yes," she said coolly. "And you're still stepping outside." But before he could move, Mila, trembling but brave, turned on her iPad and hit play. The recording started with laughter, male voices, Jasper's among them. Then came the words that turned my blood to ice. "She's gonna cry when she sees what we did to her hair. After prom, we'll make sure she remembers tonight for the rest of her life." Another boy laughed. Jasper's voice again. "She'll do whatever I tell her. If not, well, my dad knows how to make things disappear." Ava buried her face in her hands. The silence after the recording ended was unbearable. Even Detective Vasquez seemed momentarily still. Then she nodded to her partner. "Cuff him." Jasper lunged forward, shouting, "This is illegal. My father will destroy you." But the officer twisted his arms behind his back and snapped the handcuffs closed. As they let him out, Vasquez's radio crackled. "Detective, we found something in his vehicle." Within minutes, an officer returned holding a clear evidence bag. Small packets of pills and a bottle of something unlabeled. Vasquez's face darkened. "Looks like we're not just talking about assault anymore," she muttered. "We'll run a talk screen." While the officers processed the scene, I sat beside Mila, holding her tight. My hands were cold. My mind couldn't grasp the layers of what had just unfolded. Then Vasquez approached me quietly. "Mrs. Harper," she said, "we'll also need to collect that recording. And anything else your daughter mentioned." She said there was a box. Mila nodded. "It's under Ava's bed." The detective followed her upstairs. When they came down, Vasquez carried a shoebox filled with small things. Receipts, photos, a bracelet with a broken clasp, and a phone with a cracked screen. "These belong to Ava?" I nodded. Mila spoke softly. "She hid them. I saw him hurt her once. I told Mom, but..." She stopped there. And that was when it hit me, the guilt like a punch to the chest. I had seen the bruises, the sudden fear in Ava's eyes when Jasper called, the way she stopped wearing her favorite dress because he didn't like it. And I had convinced myself it was teenage drama. I hadn't wanted to believe it was something darker. Now the truth stood in front of me, shaved, trembling, broken. Later that evening, when the patrol cars left and the house was finally quiet, my phone buzzed. It was a blocked number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to. "Mrs. Harper," a cold voice said. "This is Senator Caldwell. You made a serious mistake today." My son's future is not something you can destroy without consequences. I froze. Your son hurt my daughter. You have no idea how the world works, he said. We can make this go away. Or we can make your life hell. Choose wisely. Before I could respond, there was a faint click. Detective Vasquez was still in the room, holding a small recorder. She had tapped my line. Thank you, Senator, she said into her mic, her tone dry as ice. That's all we needed. The call ended. I stared at her, stunned. She gave a small smile. You'd be surprised how often arrogance solves cases for us. By midnight, Jasper was in custody. The drugs found in his car connected him to 2 other incidents at his school. The voicemail from the senator became federal evidence. What began as a family disaster had spiraled into a criminal investigation. And through it all, I couldn't stop looking at Mila. My sweet, curious little girl who loved riddles and memorized grocery lists for fun. She had saved her sister's life. I tucked her into bed that night. She looked up at me and whispered, "Mom, am I in trouble?" I shook my head, tears finally falling. No, baby. You're the bravest girl I know. The weeks that followed were a blur of interviews, reports, and sleepless nights. Ava started therapy. Nathan barely spoke. He blamed himself for not noticing the signs either. I returned to work but couldn't focus. Every essay I graded about courage or justice made me cry. Then came the day of the preliminary hearing. The courthouse was cold, sterile. Everything smelled faintly of coffee and paper. Jasper sat across from us in an orange jumpsuit, no longer the charming golden boy. His lawyer whispered furiously beside him. His father, Senator Caldwell, was nowhere to be seen. The doctor's report confirmed Ava's injuries, bruising, evidence of restraint. It turned the case from domestic dispute to aggravated assault with intent. The prosecution moved fast. A restraining order was issued. Jasper's school suspended him indefinitely. The prom was canceled altogether. For safety reasons, they said, though everyone knew the real reason. As the investigation deepened, more came out. Hidden messages, threatening emails, and videos showing Jasper and his friends harassing other girls. Within weeks, federal charges were filed. Then came the full trial. I will never forget the day Ava testified. She stood there, trembling but unbroken. Her voice steady as she recounted what he had done. The manipulation, the fear, the humiliation. Jasper wouldn't look at her. His arrogance had drained away, leaving only shame and fury. When it was Mila's turn, the entire courtroom leaned forward. She carried her iPad again, clutching it like a shield. The prosecutor asked gently, "Mila, why did you record those things?" She looked at the judge and said clearly, "Because grown-ups don't believe kids. But today the court believes me." The room went silent. Even the reporters stopped typing. When the verdict came, Jasper was found guilty on multiple counts: assault, intimidation, possession, and conspiracy. The sentence was long. The senator resigned within weeks. Afterward, as we walked out of the courthouse, the autumn sun hit Ava's face. Her scalp was still bare beneath her hat, but for the first time in months she smiled. "I guess Mila saved prom night," she whispered. I laughed, then cried. "She saved more than that, sweetheart. She saved you." That night, after everyone was asleep, I sat alone in the living room, thinking about how everything had changed. I looked at the old family photo on the wall, before the storm, before the fear, and realized something profound. Sometimes the most shocking, chaotic act of love comes disguised as destruction. My youngest daughter had taken clippers to her sister's hair, and in doing so, cut away a nightmare none of us had seen. And as strange as it sounded, I meant every word when I thought to myself, it was the best thing she ever did. It's been a year. A whole year since that morning. The screams, the confusion, the sound of clippers, the fear that something inside our family had shattered beyond repair. And yet somehow life found its way back. The spring air in Portland carried that clean scent of new beginnings. Wet grass, lilacs, and sunlight slipping through rain clouds. Our front yard looked different now. Nathan built a small garden with Ava and Mila's help. Rows of tulips, white and purple, blooming like soft fireworks. Ava said they reminded her of survival. Mila said they looked like courage growing out of the dirt. I stood by the window that morning, straightening Ava's graduation gown, the deep blue fabric catching every bit of light. Her hair had grown back, Not long yet, just enough to curl around her ears. She used to hate short hair. But now she said it made her feel free, lighter, like she had nothing to hide from anymore. "Do you think they'll clap?" she asked, nervously adjusting her tassel. I smiled. "They'll do more than clap, honey. They'll remember you." Nathan came downstairs with the camera, his expression proud and misty-eyed in that quiet, dad-like way. Mila ran around the kitchen table with her medal from the city's Young Citizen Hero award still hanging from her neck, even though the ceremony had been months ago. She never took it off for long, said it helped her feel brave for both of us. When we got to Lincoln High, the campus looked like something out of a movie. Banners, balloons, proud parents holding signs, and students laughing, hugging, crying. It felt so ordinary and yet sacred. Ordinary because every high school has a graduation like this. Sacred because a year ago, I didn't know if Ava would ever smile again. The principal's voice crackled through the speakers. "And now, please welcome this year's student speaker, Ava Harper." Applause filled the gym. I watched my daughter climb the stage, graceful, confident, and steady. She adjusted the mic and took a deep breath. "When I was younger," she began, her voice clear and calm, "I thought courage was loud. I thought it was about standing up, shouting the truth, being the hero in the story. But last year I learned that courage can be quiet too. Like a whisper that wakes you up before it's too late." You could hear a pin drop. Parents leaned forward. Even the restless kids fell silent. "I was hurt," she continued. "And I didn't tell anyone because I thought no one would believe me. But someone did, someone small, someone everyone thought was too young to understand. My sister, Mila." Gasps, then murmurs. A few teachers exchanged looks. They all knew fragments of the story but not the whole truth. Ava smiled gently at her sister, sitting in the front row. "She saved me. Not just from someone who wanted to control me, but from a silence that could have swallowed me whole. So today, I want to dedicate this moment to every person who thinks their voice doesn't matter. Because sometimes the smallest voice can wake the entire world." The crowd erupted into applause. People stood. Some wiped their eyes. Mila's face glowed with pride as she clapped harder than anyone else in the room. I didn't even try to stop my tears. Nathan held my hand and we just let the sound wash over us. The sound of healing, of survival, of something new being born from something broken. After the ceremony, local reporters asked to interview Ava. She politely declined, saying, "This isn't about the past anymore. It's about what comes next." That was my girl, turning pain into purpose. That evening we had dinner at our favorite diner downtown. The same place we used to go every Friday before everything happened. It felt symbolic, like reclaiming something that once felt lost. The waitress recognized us, smiled, and said, "Congratulations, graduates." Ava laughed. Mila ordered 2 chocolate sundaes for courage. Nathan teased that we'd have to roll them home afterward. For the first time in forever, laughter didn't feel forced. It came naturally, freely, like breathing again after holding your breath too long. As the sun set behind the Portland skyline, Ava pulled something out of her purse. A small folded piece of paper. "I wrote something," she said quietly. "It's not for the speech. It's for us." She unfolded it, her handwriting neat and thoughtful. "A year ago, I lost my hair, my confidence, my trust in people. But what I found was worth more. Truth, love, and a family that never gave up on me. I used to think Mom was just a teacher, but now I know she's a protector. I used to think Dad didn't see me, but now I know he never stopped watching over me. And Mila, you're the bravest heart I've ever known. Thank you for saving me, even when I didn't know I needed saving." We all sat there in silence. The streetlights flickered on outside, soft and golden. I reached across the table and held her hand. Nathan cleared his throat, the kind of sound men make when they're trying not to cry. Mila just smiled, her little fingers tracing the edge of her medal. That night, after the girls went to bed, Nathan and I stood on the porch watching the stars. "You ever think we'd get here?" he asked quietly. I shook my head. "No. I thought we'd never feel normal again." He exhaled. "Maybe this is better than normal. Maybe this is real." He was right. Normal had been the illusion, the calm surface hiding so many cracks. Real was this, imperfect, scarred, honest. Ava spent her summer volunteering at a women's shelter. She said she wanted to help others find their voices sooner than I did. Her story, though she never sought fame, spread through word of mouth. Teachers invited her to speak at workshops, community centers, even city events. She always brought Mila with her, saying, "She's the reason I'm here." One afternoon, the mayor's office invited us to a ceremony downtown. We assumed it was another local recognition event, but it turned out to be something far bigger. The announcer's voice echoed across the marble hall. This year, the city of Portland honors Mila Harper with the Medal of Outstanding Citizenship for her courage, integrity, and the protection of others. Mila looked so small standing on that big stage, but she held her head high as the medal was placed around her neck. The crowd applauded, loud, long, heartfelt. Ava cheered the loudest. Nathan and I held each other. When the applause finally faded, Mila turned to the microphone. She didn't have a speech prepared, but what she said was perfect. "I didn't do it to be brave. I did it because I love my sister. Sometimes love looks like doing something crazy like shaving someone's head, but if it means keeping them safe, I'd do it again." The audience laughed softly, then clapped again, not out of pity but admiration. Driving home that evening, the sunset painted the sky orange and pink. I watched my daughters in the rearview mirror, Ava staring out the window, thoughtful, and Mila humming to herself, metal glinting in the fading light. I thought about how far we had come, from that morning of screams and confusion to this moment of calm and pride. The past hadn't disappeared. Trauma never really does. But it had transformed into something we could live with, something that reminded us of our strength instead of our pain. At home before bed, Ava knocked on my door. "Mom." "Yeah, sweetheart." She hesitated, then smiled. "You know, I think I finally understand what you always say in class." "What's that?" "That good stories don't start perfect, they start broken." I couldn't help but laugh softly. "And do they end happy?" She shrugged, thoughtful. "Not always happy, but honest." "That's enough." When she left, I sat there for a long time, the house quiet except for the sound of the wind outside. I looked at the photo wall. We'd added new pictures. Ava with her diploma, Mila with her medal, the four of us in the backyard, dirt on our hands from planting tulips. No more polished perfection, just life, messy and real. And as I turned off the lights, I whispered a silent thank you, for my daughters, for second chances, for the strange, wild ways love shows up when you least expect it. Because a year ago, I thought everything was falling apart. But now I understand. Sometimes falling apart is just the first step toward being whole again. And if anyone asked me today what the best thing my daughter ever did was, I'd still say without hesitation, she shaved her sister's head before prom. It's been 3 years since that morning, and life has taken us places I never imagined. The past didn't vanish, it softened, reshaped into something that gave each of us purpose. Ava is now a freshman at Stanford University, majoring in psychology. She founded a campus project called Red Flag, an app that helps high school and college students recognize early signs of dating abuse and manipulation. She gives talks at schools, sometimes on panels with survivors twice her age, and every time she speaks, her voice carries that quiet, grounded power that only comes from having lived through the fire. She once told me, "I can't erase what happened, Mom, but I can use it to make sure another girl never goes through it alone." Mila, now 12, runs a YouTube channel called Kid Detective Mila. What started as a small project for her classmates became a movement. She teaches kids how to spot manipulation, set boundaries, and speak up, all with her trademark wit and big sister energy. She has over 400,000 subscribers, and every time I hear her say, "Remember, even little voices matter," my heart swells with pride. Nathan, after years of corporate life, left his job and started a cybersecurity firm that designs privacy systems for victims of domestic abuse. Encrypted phones, safe storage for evidence, digital safety training. He said he's finally using his skills for something that matters. He named the company Harper Shield. And me? I turned everything we lived through into a book called The Night My Daughter Shaved Her Sister's Head. I wrote it with trembling hands and tear-streaked pages, never expecting anyone beyond a few close friends to read it. But it stayed on the New York Times bestseller list for 12 weeks. Letters pour in every week, from mothers, sisters, and daughters saying the story gave them courage to speak, to leave, to believe again. Sometimes on quiet mornings I still catch myself watching my daughters at the breakfast table. Ava reading notes on her laptop, Mila editing her videos, Nathan pouring coffee. Normal moments that feel sacred now. Ava's hair reaches her shoulders again. She likes to run her fingers through it absently while studying. A small gesture that used to make me ache but now fills me with peace. Because the hair grew back. But the nightmares didn't. And I know without a single doubt that the night Mila held that buzzing razor was the night our family was born again. When I look back now, what stays with me most isn't the fear or the chaos. It's the moment I finally learned to listen. Children see what adults overlook. They notice what love sometimes blinds us from. Mila's act wasn't rebellion. It was instinct, pure, protective, and brave. If this story taught me anything, it's these 5 lessons I wish every parent, every teacher, every friend would remember. First, never dismiss a warning from a child. Their truth may sound small, but it's often the clearest voice in the room. Second, violence doesn't start with bruises. It starts with control and silence. Third, no family is perfect, but truth has the power to bring one back from the edge. Fourth, courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it comes from a little girl holding a buzzing razor at dawn. And fifth, justice doesn't always come quickly, but it always comes. If you believe that one small act can change someone's life, share this story. Hit like, subscribe, and stay with us as we continue to tell real stories that awaken hearts and remind us all. Even the quietest voices can spark the loudest change.